In today's video, we explore a growing shift that challenges traditional perceptions of power, resilience, and purpose. For generations, society has defined strength through dominance, popularity, and material wealth. But quietly, under the surface, a different kind of power has been developing, one that thrives in silence, grows through resistance, and dismantles outdated structures without fanfare. This is not about rebellion in the conventional sense. It's about alignment. It's about stepping into the role that was always yours to hold. The following insights aren't intended for the crowd. They're meant for individuals navigating a deeper calling, those often misunderstood, overlooked, or resisted by the mainstream. This segment outlines how the rise of the chosen one is not just personal, it's part of a much larger shift. Power is often associated with volume. Social dominance, media exposure, and financial clout are marketed as the pinnacles of strength. But observable trends reveal a different pattern. Individuals who were once sidelined, the quiet, the calm, the unseen, are now becoming the ones shaping new paradigms. True influence doesn't rely on recognition. It doesn't need applause. What it does require is a foundational understanding of one's own path. In today's environment, more people are recognizing that real power is internal. It's calm under pressure, control under chaos, and clarity when confusion reigns. Chosen individuals, those who do not fit into society's default mold, aren't rising by chance. Their detachment from noise and rejection of performance-based identity allows them to move with unmatched precision. These individuals are often misunderstood not because they're arrogant, but because they're uninterested in validation from broken systems. What's unfolding is more than personal transformation, it's systemic disruption. The chosen ones, as this movement defines them, do not aim to dominate others. Instead, they disrupt by their very presence. Their stillness triggers awareness. Their silence reveals dysfunction. Many of these individuals operate without fanfare. They don't seek attention. Instead, their influence is measured by the changes they initiate, shifts in conversations, tensions in places where comfort once ruled, and reflection in people who previously rejected accountability. In environments built on manipulation and distraction, the refusal to participate becomes a threat. That's why the emergence of internal power is so unsettling to those who rely on control through external pressure. It marks a breakdown in the systems that could once predict behavior, maintain hierarchy, and suppress deviation. Individuals waking up to their inner alignment are no longer waiting for traditional signs of success. They're no longer asking permission. That's what makes them disruptive, not because they're aggressive, but because they've detached from manipulation altogether. External structures depend on compliance. Whether through fear, fame, or social engineering, control has historically required belief in its legitimacy. But when a person no longer looks outside for validation, that system begins to collapse. The most disruptive force, therefore, is not resistance in the physical sense, it's independence at the energetic level. This shift cannot be traced to a specific political movement, religion, or trend. It's spiritual but practical. It's internal but visible. And it doesn't seek approval. It seeks alignment. Historically, belief systems have been dismissed as intangible or overly emotional. But faith, when it becomes an organizing force, can surpass the power of policy, popularity, or profit. The chosen ones don't operate from optimism alone. Their belief is strategy. It's conviction that sustains vision even when the environment offers no signs of success. In a society that rewards visible output, the refusal to overexpose one's power is often misread. But those who carry deep belief operate from foresight. They're rarely impulsive. They don't act to impress. Instead, their every step is measured, intentional, and often quiet. Belief is what activates the dormant potential inside. It's not performance-based. It's principle-based. And those who embody this kind of belief develop resilience that cannot be outsourced, bought, or imitated. Many chosen individuals report patterns of exclusion, sabotage, or misunderstanding throughout their lives. This isn't coincidence. It's calibration. Systems of control test early and often. Those with potential to influence new realities are often disrupted before they find alignment. The attacks, social, professional, emotional, aren't designed for destruction. They are mechanisms of resistance meant to break alignment before it fully forms. But chosen individuals who persist through this pressure do not just survive, they recalibrate into something even stronger. What once felt like punishment begins to look like preparation. What once looked like delay becomes evidence of deeper alignment. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about understanding what the pain was trying to activate. True influence doesn't require a stage. It begins with how you carry yourself when no one is watching. Individuals in alignment with this truth often report increased sensitivity to manipulation, a rejection of surface-level success, and a quiet emergence of strength that isn't tied to reaction. That presence, the kind that doesn't speak but still shifts the energy in a room, is the direct result of inner alignment. It's cultivated through solitude, discipline, and the willingness to face one's internal limitations. These are the individuals who can't be lured by illusion. They no longer respond to fear. They no longer chase noise. And that's why their rise cannot be stopped. Belief, when activated, becomes a battlefield. But this isn't a call to conflict. It's a recognition that the moment you stop aligning with confusion, you become a target for exposure. The chosen are often misunderstood, not because of what they say, but because of what they refuse to accept. You don't need to dismantle a system violently when your alignment alone causes it to crumble. Silence, when it comes from clarity, becomes a mirror, and many are afraid of their own reflection. That's the nature of this shift. It doesn't need an announcement. It's already unfolding. The real question is, are you ready to step into what's already calling you? Many individuals rely on external control to feel powerful: titles, positions, routines, or rigid environments. They believe that predictability equates to stability. But the moment those constructs shift, their sense of power unravels. Why? Because their authority was never internal. It was borrowed from systems designed to fail. As a chosen one, your strength comes from a deeper place, an internal compass that doesn't require validation or structure to operate. This is why you can move through uncertainty with clarity, while others lose direction when the rules change. You're not bound by systems because you understand their temporary nature. Instead of clinging to what's being dismantled, you pivot toward what is being rebuilt. Inner authority means your decisions are grounded not in fear of collapse, but in trust in your own discernment. This is also why resistance comes your way. Systems don't oppose those who comply, they resist those who question, who adapt, and who rebuild independently. You disrupt by simply existing in alignment. You don't need to shout your presence. It's felt through the steadiness of your movement and the precision of your response. It's common to hear that walking alone is a sign of rejection, failure, or weakness. But for those with a calling, solitude is often the most strategic space. It's where noise fades and alignment becomes visible. Most of the crowd will move based on reaction. You, however, move with intention. This can be mistaken as detachment or even arrogance. But it's simply clarity. The ones who rise aren't those who follow noise. They're the ones who recognize when to step away from distraction and tune into frequency. The chosen ones are rarely surrounded by consensus. They often move ahead of the narrative, sensing what others don't see until much later. When you walk alone, you're not disconnected, you're focused. You're creating distance from what seeks to dilute your power. Leadership isn't just about being followed. It's about staying faithful to direction, even when no one else understands it yet. Too often, effectiveness is mistakenly linked with permission. People wait to be seen, validated, or endorsed before they move. But by the time they receive that external green light, the opportunity has already passed. The chosen one doesn't move because they're approved, they move because they're aligned. Waiting for support from those who don't understand your assignment is a delay tactic disguised as patience. Real transformation never begins in comfort. It begins with one step, unannounced, unapproved, but undeniably powerful. The energy you carry will be met with resistance by those who rely on systems to feel stable. But that resistance is not your warning sign, it's your confirmation. If your vision requires others to co-sign it, then it's not yet grounded in truth. Truth doesn't need applause. It needs action. It's easy to misunderstand disruption. To those invested in stability at all costs, disruption feels threatening. But to those tuned into evolution, it's essential. You're not here to dismantle for the sake of collapse. You're here to redirect energy toward what is sustainable, authentic, and necessary. That will always challenge outdated systems. Whether in personal relationships, institutions, or culture. Disruption brings discomfort. But discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the invitation to shift, grow, and reevaluate. Most avoid it. The chosen confront it and offer a new path forward. Let's be clear, your disruption isn't accidental. It's not rebellion for its own sake. It's rooted in clarity and purpose. It's a necessary recalibration of energies that have long been off balance. There's a difference between silence that comes from fear and silence that comes from confidence. You've likely been silent in moments not because you had nothing to say, but because the room wasn't ready to hear it. And that's strategy. In a world trained to reward reaction, silence can be mistaken for weakness. But when silence is rooted in understanding, it becomes a tool. It creates space for observation. It grants time for alignment. It prevents unnecessary energy loss. The chosen one uses silence like a sculptor uses stillness between strokes. Measured, intentional, and powerful. The loudest voice isn't always the most accurate. The most visible action isn't always the most effective. True influence often happens when no one is watching. When you choose silence strategically, you're conserving strength, not conceding. Too often, society equates visibility with importance. The more seen you are, the more powerful you must be. But in reality, some of the most influential individuals in history were unnoticed in their time. Your impact isn't defined by how many people know your name. It's defined by how deeply your actions ripple through the lives and structures around you. True influence moves subtly. It shifts dynamics, not just trends. It touches legacy, not just timelines. You don't need a platform to make a shift, you need clarity, consistency, and conviction. Your work, your energy, your vision, it is already enough. Whether it echoes loudly or moves quietly, its frequency will always reach where it needs to. When you choose alignment over applause, you might not be celebrated immediately. But in the long run, it's the only path that lasts. The world will often reward conformity. But the chosen ones are called to alignment, living and acting in a way that honors truth, even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's misunderstood. This path may not always win popularity contests, but it ensures you don't lose yourself. And ultimately, nothing is more powerful than someone who didn't compromise who they are just to be accepted. When you operate from alignment, you become unshakable. You no longer seek to perform for approval. You embody purpose. And that energy, even if it's not applauded, is respected at the highest level of influence, reality itself. By now, you've seen the pattern. Power isn't something you chase, mimic, or inherit. It's something you cultivate through awareness, alignment, and consistent action. What they tried to suppress in you wasn't rebellion, it was recognition. You didn't become difficult, different, or disruptive. You became awake. And here's the truth, that awakening is irreversible. Once you've seen through the illusion, once you've recognized how often power is misunderstood and how influence is often confused with volume, you can't unsee it. You now know the difference between being visible and being impactful. You know that what's loud isn't always lasting, and what's lasting rarely needs to be loud. This message wasn't written to impress. It was written to reflect. To remind you of what you already know deep down but may have forgotten in the noise. You've always been set apart. That's not arrogance, it's clarity. The very traits that made you question your place were often signals of your path. You weren't meant to blend in. You weren't meant to soften your truth so others could stay comfortable. You were meant to walk in a power that doesn't seek permission. You were meant to take quiet, strategic steps that shift energy, not chase applause. The people who underestimated you, they miscalculated not because they didn't see your effort, but because they didn't understand your intention. You weren't working for them to notice. You were building because it's who you are. And the systems that tried to contain you, they failed because you no longer needed them to validate what you already carry. Let this be your reminder, your silence is not absence. It's focus. Your detachment is not apathy. It's discipline. Your calm isn't weakness, it's control. From this point forward, you don't owe the world more proof. You owe yourself more movement. This script ends here, but your next chapter begins now, not with noise, not with explanation, but with action. So what does that look like? It looks like saying yes without waiting for confirmation. It looks like stepping even when the full staircase isn't visible. It looks like maintaining your frequency when everything around you tries to lower it. It looks like no longer apologizing for how you've grown, evolved, or protected your peace. You weren't chosen to perform. You were chosen to align. No one will understand your path fully, and they don't need to. That's the nature of being set apart. But what they will see, in time, is the shift your presence creates. Not because you asked for attention, but because you moved in truth. And that is the difference between popularity and legacy. So as we close, understand this clearly, nothing external can define what's been written internally. You don't need a stage to carry power. You don't need applause to confirm your progress. You don't need everyone to believe in your vision for it to be valid. What you do need is consistency. Movement. Alignment. The path of the chosen is not always easy, but it's always worth it. So if you're ready to stop asking for signs, and start being one. If you're ready to walk like the version of you that no longer seeks to fit in but exists to stand out, then the time is now. Like this video if it aligned with your journey. Subscribe to the channel for more clarity-driven content, and drop a comment below that says, "I'm done waiting." Because once you activate your truth, the only direction left is forward. And remember, power doesn't perform. It shifts. And you, chosen one, are the shift. Now that you've walked through every layer of this message, now that each line has echoed through your awareness and settled into your understanding, you are no longer the same. And because of that, it's time for action. Not emotional hype. Not a temporary shift. But real, grounded, sustained movement. This message was never just for entertainment. It was a mirror, a reminder, a recalibration. You didn't land here randomly. This wasn't a coincidence. You've heard too much to go back to sleep now. You've seen too clearly to remain in hesitation. So the question becomes, what now? Here's the answer: you move. You lead. You embody everything this message activated in you. Because activation without application leads to spiritual stagnation. And chosen ones? We don't stagnate. We evolve. If this message lit something within you, don't let it burn out. Let it fuel your momentum. Let it become a signal to your surroundings that something is shifting, not later, not someday, but now. Here's what you do next. Step 1, make your presence known. Engage. This platform isn't just here to speak to you, it's here to walk with you. Hit that like button if something here reflected your truth. Your engagement isn't just about numbers, it's about alignment. When you hit like, you're anchoring your energy to this frequency. It tells the platform and the universe, I resonate with this message. Let it reach who it needs to. Step 2, stay connected. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Not for more noise, but for consistency and clarity. Every video is designed with purpose, to keep you sharp, steady, and aligned. Subscribing doesn't just connect you to content, it connects you to a movement. One grounded in spiritual accuracy, truth, and purpose. Step 3, speak it into reality. Drop a comment below. Write the words, I'm done waiting, if you're ready to stop standing still and start commanding your next chapter. It's more than a phrase, it's an agreement. A declaration. When you type those words, you're setting intention into motion. You're confirming not just that you heard the message, but that you're now living it. Step 4, carry this energy forward. What you do after this video ends is what defines you. Let this message translate into how you show up, in your mindset, your decisions, your energy. You were reminded today of what you carry. So start using it. Speak differently. Walk differently. Set boundaries that reflect your worth. Move like someone who knows they are chosen. Let people wonder what changed. Let environments shift when you enter. Let old habits fall away like dust. Because the version of you that sat in silence, that waited for permission, that doubted their authority, does not belong in the future you're building. There's no more waiting. No more shrinking. No more trying to earn approval from a world that was never built for your design. The chosen don't chase, they attract by becoming. Let this video be your line in the sand. The moment where passivity ended and clarity took over. And if you've ever felt alone in this process, you're not. There's an entire network of awakened individuals tuning in with you right now. Read the comments. See the confirmations. Feel the alignment. This isn't just a channel, it's a space for those who carry frequency, not performance. So again, like this video to signal your resonance, subscribe to walk with us as we go deeper, comment, I'm done waiting, if you're ready to rise. And remember, you weren't called to blend in. You were called to break patterns. You weren't selected to follow. You were chosen to shift. And now that you've remembered who you are, let's walk like it. We'll see you in the next message. Until then, stay grounded, stay alert, and most of all, stay activated.